Alright guys, let's get back into the basics. So last time we saw that a rectangle, you can have a rectangle, and the parameters we entered in is x, y, then width and height. We can also do this with ellipses. With ellipses, you also enter x, y, width and height. So it's very self-explanatory. We'll now you'll see. Perfect. We have a circle and a square following my mouse. And now you may be wondering, what is this line following us? So this is the next step. The next thing I'm going to teach you. So basically, a line is slightly different from a rectangle, and an ellipse isn't that the fact that it doesn't technically have a width or a height. It's just a line. So for a line, the parameters are the xy of the starting point of the line, and then the xy of the end point of the line. So here you see it starts at 525 and then it ends at my mouse, x and mouse y. Therefore, it will just follow my mouse around. So perfect. Now we got that. There's also this thing called point. Point, it's really pointless because you can't actually see it. See, it's literally just this one dot. You may not be able to see it, but there's a one dot right up there, right here. It's kind of pointless. You don't really have to worry about it. You just have to remember that a point, it's just one point. So you only have to put in the x and y coordinates for it. You may not need to use it, but maybe you will. So now we're gonna get into mouse. So we're gonna get into how do we detect a mouse? And it's very simple. Processing provides a method or a function called mouse pressed, and this function is called whenever a mouse is pressed. So here we can set the background equal to this random color, which I'm not actually sure what it is. So you may be noticing that there's some flickers, but we don't actually see a constant color change. And this is because this method is only called when the mouse is pressed. So that means it's pressed and then calls it. And then to call this method again, you have to release the mouse and then press on it again. And we might not want this. We might want it so that holding the mouse, we want it to hold the mouse and constantly be changing color. So there's this thing called Boolean. So this Boolean is called mouse press. It's a Boolean that says, is the mouse pressed? It's not the method, which is, has the mouse been pressed? Once it's pressed, you do this, call it. This is the mouse still being pressed? So while it's in the draw, it continuously checks if the mouse is being pressed. And if it is being pressed, it does whatever is within the if statement. So here, if we change it here, and put it in mouse press, when I click the button, it will change the background for good whenever I'm holding the mouse. And this is because mouse press is in the draw, so therefore it is constantly checking. So when you hold it, it will change the background. So it's pretty obvious now what's the difference between mouse pressed as a Boolean and the method mouse pressed. The method mouse press is to make sure the user or the player presses on the mouse once. So let's just say you're trying to make a spam game to see how fast someone can press the mouse. So you want to call it with mouse pressed because you want them to press it, then release it, then press it, then release it. However, if this game you want them to hold the mouse, then you use if mouse press inside draw. So it's whatever your preference, or whatever game you're trying to design. Now, there's another mode that I have not taught you yet, which is it's not used quite often, but it's still good to know. And this is called rect mode corners. So we've learned rect mode corner and rect mode center, and we already told you rect mode corner puts the x and y at the top left, and center puts it right in the center of the rectangle, or it could be ellipse, whatever you're drawing here. But corners basically what it does is instead you make your parameters, these parameters, so the first parameters are the same, it's the x and y of the top right. But the next two parameters will be the x and y of the bottom right. So we can see this with rect xy and mouse x and mouse y. So we see here it starts at x, which is 100, y is 100, and the bottom, you see the bottom right, it follows the bottom right. So basically now I will create a rectangle. I'll create a rectangle from top right, which is 100, 100, which is x and x, all the way to mouse x, mouse y. So now we got a rectangle that's following my mouse. Now, this is all good. However, I may want to make a rectangle just similar to how you do on the desktop. You know, I want to click it, drag it, and then I want to be able to create a rectangle like this. Now, how do we do this? And it is very simple. It's very simple. Basically, I have made down here. You've seen that I have, when the mouse is pressed, x is equal to mouse x, y is equal to mouse x. So this means when it is pressed for the first time, I set the top right of the rectangle, not top right, top left of the rectangle to be this spot. So when I first click on it, this will be my top right. And wherever I drag my mouse, that will be my what's it called? That will be my bottom right. So I don't need this anymore, and so you see that not exactly what I want. So put this here. Alright, so I count that again. Paste this in here. There we go. So basically, what is happening is when I first press the mouse, I have here, I set the top left corner as my starting. And as long as I'm holding the mouse, I continually draw a rectangle with the bottom right as my mouse X, mouse Y. Now you may be wondering, why don't I have X, this part, in here? And that's because if I do, it will constantly be changing the X and Y of the rectangle to be equal to mouse X, mouse Y. Therefore, when I put this in here, I won't be able to draw anything because I'm just drawing from mouse X, mouse Y to mouse X, mouse Y. And that concludes our lesson. Thank you.